Pinkerton Audiobooks presents The Thing at the Window, written and read by Pinkerton. Lisa Preston awoke suddenly. She was drenched in an icy sweat. The horrifying nightmare had seemed so real to her. She slipped into her robe and went downstairs to get a drink from the refrigerator. She poured some milk into a glass and turned to flip off the light switch. That was when she got the feeling that she was being watched. That was when she saw it. There, staring at her through the small window over the sink, was something that she could not describe. Its deathly pale skin was sunken in at its withered eye sockets and below its cheekbones. Its eyes were pale and lifeless, bloody drool strung from its stiff lips. For several moments she stared, gripped by a fear that paralyzed every muscle in her body. The glass slipped from her trembling hand and shattered on the linoleum at her feet. The thing moved then, apparently jarred by the sound of the breaking glass. Its slimy white hands crashed through the pane and reached for her. It was at that moment that the mortal terror that was welling up inside of her forced her to move. For she turned and sped out of the kitchen, her feet shuffling rapidly in a frenzy to get to safety. The window it had broken was too small for it to climb through, but there were many windows in the house, many windows which were much larger. Why had her husband had to work night shift on tonight of all nights? Why had she allowed James to take their only car instead of dropping him off? Tonight, which was to be their first night in this new house that they had purchased. At first, she had wondered why the house had been so cheap, and had been disturbed by the fact that it was so close to the cemetery with no others close, save for the shack of the caretaker. If she could only make it to the cemetery caretaker's shack, if she could only make it there, surely he would help her. The suicides of the last 4 people who had taken up residence in this house began to make sense to her as she fled, screaming down the hall. The knob was rattling when she burst into the sitting room where the front door was located, halting her where she stood. A fresh wave of panic and fear washed over her as she struggled to force herself to move, to barricade the door with the coffee tables and chairs that were situated in the room. Through the picture window next to the door, she saw it watching her again, and knew that blocking the door had been a futile effort. As she fled in complete panic, she heard the thing crash through the window behind her, followed by the sound of its scampering feet as it shambled after her. She thumped up the staircase, shrieking uncontrollably, and locked herself in the bedroom. She heard the vase smash against the hardwood floor as it was knocked from the hall table outside. No doubt the thing had brushed against it in its pursuit. She could hear it now, clawing and scratching at the door between them, its fists also raining mighty blows against it. Trembling, she backed away, her eyes fixed on the door as the wood began to splinter. The thing continued to batter the door until at last larger pieces of the wood were beginning to fall away. The thing tore the hole bigger and bigger until, at last, those slimy white hands were able to reach through, clutching at the air as she continued, step by difficult step, to back away. Her feet were heavy, and each step exhausted her more and more as the thing continued to make wreckage of the bedroom door. She jumped with a startled shriek as her back touched something, the wall behind her. She shrieked, and then she woke up. She was drenched in an icy sweat. The nightmare had seemed so real to her. She stared around the room as she tried to laugh off her fear, reassuring herself that she was all right, and that the nightmare had probably been the result of being alone in the strange house at night. She slipped into her robe and went downstairs to get a drink from the refrigerator. She poured some milk into a glass and turned to flip off the light switch. That was when she got the feeling that she was being watched. That was when she saw it. There, staring at her through the small window over the sink, was something she could not describe. The end. The Thing at the Window, written and read by Pinkerton.
Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified when we post new videos.